welcome to the last session of day one of the 6th Streaming Media Connect event. This is Streaming Media West Connect. I am Eric Schumacher Rasmussen, the VP and Editor-in-Chief of Streaming Media and the conference chair. Thanks for joining us today. This is our 6th virtual event, as I said. We hope to be back in person in Boston in May 24th to be exact. There will be one more Streaming Media Connect event in between now and then in February. So keep your eyes open for that. And we'll be opening up the call for speakers soon. Want to jump right in pretty quickly here, but a couple of housekeeping notes. If you have any questions for our speakers, please put them in the Q&A tab. It's easier for us to keep track of them if they are there rather than in the chat. And if you have if the subtitles, the live transcript is turned on your screen, you can turn it off by going to live transcript at the bottom and clicking on that, and then clicking on disable transcript. Finally, if for being here today, you are registered in a drawing to win an Amazon gift card, and we'll be announcing the winner at the end of this session. I'd like to thank the diamond sponsors for Streaming Media West Connect this week: Conviva, Limelight Networks, Signiant, and Video Guys. And I'll pass things over to our producer, Bill, for a quick pre-roll. I guess it's technically a mid-roll, messages from our diamond sponsors. Bill?
In this era of streaming video, we are pioneers, helping make your stories more vibrant. Conviva lives in billions of apps on devices all over the world, measuring trillions of data points each day to provide real-time insights for your content, ads, and social. Conviva. Every stream, every screen, every second.
Videoguys.com is your source for live production gear, and we can help you start streaming today.
Reach a wider audience and tell your story using equipment like the RGB Link Mini family of 4 HDMI mixers, YOLO Live YOLO Box all-in-one touchscreen mixers, streamers, and recorders, and PTZ cameras and controllers, perfect for productions of all sizes without a large production crew.
Go to Videoguys.com or call us at 800-323-2325 for help and start streaming today.
In this era,
Sponsors of this panel, who are Millicast, Dolby, and Streann Media, and you're going to be hearing from each of them about a different aspect of the streaming media / OTT ecosystem. So with that, I'd like to just invite Ryan Jesperson, streaming media engineer from Millicast. Hey, Ryan, how are you?
Hey, Eric, how are you doing? Good to see
good.
everyone.
I feel like we just talked because we did. We had a research keynote this morning that Millicast sponsored. You can watch that on demand if you missed it. And with that, I'll just let you take it away, Ryan.
Thanks, Eric. And hello, everyone. So I think I started the day off and I'm pretty much finishing it off along with my colleagues here at Dolby and Streann. And interestingly enough, the keynote that we talked about today was kind of an industry survey of kind of the state of streaming, especially how it relates to interactive and interactivity, which has been, I think, a hot topic in streaming for the last couple of years now, since the pandemic has hit. So what I'm going to do is actually share my screen and kind of walk you guys through the items that we're going to go over today. So, instead of showing you guys a PowerPoint slide, I wanted to be very, very hands-on today and just talk about the use cases that I'm seeing kind of on the front lines of building this next wave of interactivity and streaming applications. So in kind of the synopsis, I talked a little bit about remote production and post-production and broadcast workflows. At Millicast specifically, we're working with all the top Hollywood studios to enable them to create interactive remote-first workflows, as many of these studios are trying to find alternatives to professional grade equipment and workflows in their studios and replace those with consumer grade equipment and public internet connection from their homes, and still be able to post-produce these TV shows and films and commercials and everything that makes them monetize their industry. And then I also want to talk a little bit about live sport and event production, as well as extremely innovative products that I'm seeing as it relates to video-enabled e-commerce, AR and VR, which is always a hot topic, but never seems to quite get the attention or the actual real live use case in the streaming world because of issues with latency and so on, cloud gaming and much more. So I'm going to dive right in and kind of walk you guys through a few of these workflows. So just to kick things off, I'll give you an introduction to Millicast. Millicast, we've really taken WebRTC and made it available to the masses through a simple API. So this allows you to take a technology that traditionally has been quite difficult to use and scale, and be able to enable our customers to grab that API, launch their solutions for whatever vertical market they happen to be in, and be able to take their products to market in a matter of minutes, hours, or days instead of maybe months or years. So very, very simple and easy to use. And there's plenty of demos and previous presentations I've done with Streann Media that dive into this. And in fact, there was a webinar, I think it was back in February or January of this year, where I did a 2.5-hour deep dive into WebRTC and the future of WebRTC and AV1. So this is supposed to be a little bit more use case focused instead of it being so technical and deep dive. So one of the things that we've done this year is at Millicast, we've had customers asking us now for over a year to build more interactivity into their products. And I think something that really caught the attention of the industry this year was the Clubhouse app that came out, where it allowed you to not have just here are the hosts and panelists, and then here are the passive viewers, which is, I think, what we're used to in the streaming world with consuming HLS feeds. We're used to it in a situation like this, where we have a tool like Zoom, but yet there's not a ton of true interactivity. How do we do that, and how do we scale that, and how do we build a product on top of that and take that into our different markets? Well, what we've done is, in this article, which I'll share in the chat window, we've actually launched a product that really allows you to add the interactive element of being able to bring in passive viewers and make them active, and then vice versa, and be able to raise a hand and become a part of an active stream. And as people are trying to engage with audiences in an interactive way, we're trying to mimic that human connection that comes through interaction. And I think Clubhouse kind of hit on that, but they've only really scratched the surface of, I think, what can come in the wave of interactivity. And I think WebRTC is specifically a good use case for, or a good technology to be able to enable these workflows. And what I'll do is I'll actually go ahead and just show you guys a very quick demo of our interactive product. This is a web app that we built on top of our API with interactivity that allows me to create a room. And I can just call this Streaming Media West. And inside of here, I can do either audio only or audio and video and be able to create this. Now you can see with this interface, I've done something that actually enables me to do this inside of a web wrapper. So inside of here, you can see I've grabbed this, and I can now start inviting audience members into this. As audience members actually join the room, I can go ahead and upgrade them, and they can ask for participation and upgrade them in that. So I'll show you a very quick video here that will show you the kind of interface for this. And all the information of how to kind of deploy this is all available in this article, where we talk about the specific interactivity itself, where you can create rooms, you can create multiple experiences, and be able to do that all inside this very, very simple API. So you can see here, the way we do this is through kind of a multiplexing solution where we can grab a video and be able to scale that across WebRTC very elegantly without users like you having to create this or know anything about WebRTC or create any complexity in the code. So I'll share this in the chat window, and that way you guys can actually view this as well. Now, another really interesting use case that we've seen, and I think this is one of the most exciting ones that I've seen that's built on our technology, but I've actually seen it deployed and used by one of our customers, is they've gone ahead and created this real live portal. And the amazing thing about this portal is the fact that it's a physical device that allows you to grab a real-time stream through WebRTC and broadcast that to any portal in the world. Now, what's amazing about this is that this particular company has got a lot of publicity over the last year. And you see here, I'll just let this video run. You can see some of the use cases they've used. They've had, the watch manufacturer IWC in Switzerland be able to use this to do live demos at different shows. They've had live music performers perform live concerts for the iHeart radio series. They've used this for enterprise type use cases and demos, commercial applications, all that, and it's all using real-time technology. You can literally talk to someone in real time, and because there's a camera, there's a two-way interaction between someone remotely and someone who's obviously listening to you two-way. So you could literally have two portals and be able to talk to each other. And this kind of, this really is kind of like Star Wars, where Princess Leia is giving her message and someone's able to see it, but with much higher quality than we saw in Star Wars even. It's almost like creating like the holodeck in Star Trek, and using that in a two-way interaction that really creates and opens up our minds to what can come in the future of these products. The interesting thing about what they've done with this is they've created kind of a desktop version that can sit on your desktop, so you can actually talk with your grandparents across the world or colleagues and so on, and really mimic that human interaction, which I think is quite an interesting use case. Another use case that I think is really entertaining, obviously everyone's trying to find a way to interact with esports and gaming content, right? And one of our customers, Maestro, who's doing a proof of concept with us right now, the biggest thing that happens with going to any platform when it comes to putting your platform on Twitch or on YouTube and trying to monetize that content is very little of that money ends up trickling down to the content creators. What Maestro is doing is they're pretty much creating a YouTube that kind of mixes with a Shopify, but allows you to very quickly deploy a solution where you have this content and you have interactivity, not just for esports, but all kinds of content. So this allows you to customize and control your particular brand and capture that value in the market. But the interactive element of this is the fact that you can now do really premium content that brands can now own on their own. I think Eric and I this morning in the keynote, we're talking a lot about brands trying to capture their value in the market instead of selling their broadcast rights to TV. And that's slowly becoming not the rights to Fox or NBC here in America, but selling the rights to maybe Amazon Prime or Facebook even, right? As they get more into that content space. That's fine for the actual production, but what about all the other content? Obviously the season for American football goes from pretty much September to January. What about the rest of the year? What do brands do to capture that value? And what do they do, especially when it comes to betting and gambling that's now become regulated and legalized throughout America and is being condoned and supported now by all these major sport franchises? Maestro is creating some products that allow for these interactive elements so fans can truly engage, not just through a simple chat window, but can actually become a part of the brands that they care about. Another product that I've seen in the market is a customer of ours called Streann, and I think you guys may recognize the name Megaphone TV. They've been in the market for a very long time. They work a lot with Bravo TV and a lot of the major networks to add all kinds of interactive voting and polling. So if you watch the show like Top Chef or The Real Housewives of Orange County or New York or however many shows there are, they're the ones who actually are able to bring in the data from the internet where people are interacting and overlay that on the broadcast streams that are going out, in addition to also making this available for web consumed content. What they've done with the Streann product, they've built this on top of Millicast to be able to add true broadcast quality contribution through IP, instead of having to send a camera crew on site, do that over a satellite connection or over terrestrial, or do it over dedicated IP networks. You can do this all through WebRTC and still control the quality of the content. So this has allowed them to do really, really high-end TV production for all these big shows like The Real Housewives and other shows, where they can really pull in extremely high quality content from home studios. And I think what's become true during the pandemic is the fact that everyone has had to create a home studio that can mimic the quality of what you can do in studio, in a broadcast studio. And how do you capture this really high-end content, not through an OB truck that you might send to someone's location, but do it through an IP first workflow. And this, you can see the quality that's being done through this WebRTC first workflow, which I think is quite interesting. So Megaphone has pretty much created a tool that replaces these broadcast networks with a web first approach with doing this. And as we talk a little bit more about the traditional broadcast and post-production industry, this is really a space where Millicast has really made its name, and we are used by every major Hollywood studio. They've either built a product on us or are using us through a third-party provider, of which there are quite a few. In fact, our core team at Cosmos Software, which is a parent company to our service Millicast, we built the first version of Evercast that won an Engineering Tech Emmy Award. And how we actually talk in this article about how we built that solution on WebRTC for Evercast. So that's all available inside of here, and I'll go ahead and post that in here. What's interesting about this is that not only has Evercast done this, but people are doing this for pre-production as well as production, as well as post-production, for music production, for digital effects and special effects, and going and doing scouting reports and read-throughs for the cast. All these things are being done. And what's really important to this core audience is, of course, quality. And I think WebRTC really sets itself apart, being an agnostic to the codec. You can now do HDR and 10-bit within our product. And the next presentation with Dolby, I think, is going to dive into how Dolby is getting into the cloud and adding a lot of their value that they have at the video and audio codec level into these remote first workflows. And there's a couple of other technologies that are built on Millicast. Fifth Kind has their core live product, which also enables you to do extremely high content from either traditional encoders and be able to pull in extremely high quality feeds from studios or from remote first workflows with these other workflows I mentioned. And we have another customer called Stream in Seattle that's doing a very similar thing for a lot of production and post-production. The final thing I want to do before I run out of time is actually walk through a couple of really, really interesting use cases. I've talked a little bit about betting, and there's a customer of ours who has launched a kind of new social solution to betting. So what they've done is, obviously, there's all these operators or technology providers in the betting and gambling space who are making all these solutions. But the amazing thing about it is that none of these have actually embedded social media into the concept and the idea of actually betting and gambling. They've been able to create a solution that allows people to follow these very popular games and hedge bet against this, and doing it all through WebRTC in real time. So all these kind of interesting use cases that I've mentioned, it kind of spans really the gamut of all these different vertical markets. And I think a lot of people are also trying to build replacements for Zoom and Microsoft Teams and Google Meet, but still trying to control their brand. And I think technologies like ours and others are really enabling people to do that. So it's a very quick run through in a very short period of time. And I'm very interested to see what the Dolby presentation says about the actual quality piece of what can be offered with these remote production workflows.
Terrific, Ryan. That's some great stuff. We do have time for one question, and we have one question from the audience. How does Millicast's WebRTC product compare to the growing numbers of WebRTC, SRT, and live call products, Xvideo, Ninja, or cloud-based vision mixing production platforms like StreamYard? Is the major benefit of Millicast scale or enterprise education, resolution, multi-channel audio and video interface? What are the main advantages?
Well, it sounds like a loaded question, but it's not. I don't have any of my colleagues on the call, so. But really, the real benefit of Millicast is the fact that it's run by WebRTC industry experts. So our core team from Cosmo have been in WebRTC for over 10 years, and we really are driving the future of what's being done with WebRTC. If any of you attended Demuxed a couple of weeks ago, I did a presentation and a talk on something called WIP, which is really standardizing the signaling layer so we can get professional contribution from from hardware encoders and TV headends and so on, using the WIP protocol into WebRTC. But to kind of answer your question, I think we are industry leaders in scale. You know, I think we're the only vendor who can truly scale to several 100,000 concurrent viewers, and then quality as well. I mean, there's a reason that we have all these top broadcasters using our platform. It's because we have we're pushing the boundaries of what can be done with 10-bit HDR, and we're currently working on adding support for 444 color, so true color, 12-bit, and even a multi-channel surround sound, which I think we're the first vendor to get that working on Apple TV with our WebRTC port to that platform.
Terrific, great stuff, lots of stuff. Thanks so much for sharing today, Ryan. We really appreciate it. And if people have other questions following up for Ryan, put them in the Q&A and we can relay them to Ryan after the event. So let me welcome next David Trescott from Dolby. And David, when we were prepping a few minutes ago, he said, I can do this presentation in 3 hours or 12 minutes. We don't quite need the 12-minute version, but you know, it's not quite the 3-hour version one today, although a week from today, you will be doing the 3-hour version.
Yeah, so thank you all. Thank you, Ryan. Great introduction, interesting stuff with Millicast. My name is Dave Trescott. I work for Dolby. First off, I want to do a shout out. I see some people from Discovery and Warner and Main Concept and Level 3, and thank you for being here. So let's get started. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Can you see my screen?
We sure can.
Great. Okay, so really quick, we're going to talk about Dolby Vision in the cloud, right? So obviously Dolby does a lot of things in audio. We do things in video. We do things in quality control. One of the things I'm going to talk about is Dolby Vision and what we're doing in the cloud with Dolby Vision. Dolby Vision, you know, we kind of, Dolby pioneered HDR and the perceptual quality, EOTF, the electric optical transfer function, and we released Dolby Vision in 2014. And over the past 6 or 7 years, you've seen it become more and more common and more prevalent in pretty much all devices out there. And what it delivers is basically more and brighter colors. That's the primary thing, through dynamic metadata per scene, so that as the scenes go along, each scene is being optimized for what you can see and what your display can do. And we've tried to work with the companies out there to create something that allows you to do a single Dolby Vision master, which is mastered for this high dynamic range, and then deliver from that master in standard dynamic range, Dolby Vision, HDR10, et cetera, to allow what we would call the creative intent, right? So someone is designing this to look a certain way, and Dolby's job is to deliver that look onto whatever device you've got, whether it's a $40,000 studio monitor or a $200 phone, right? And we're trying to deliver the best version of that. And Dolby Vision does this through existing codecs. This is not a Dolby Vision. Some people get mistaken thinking it's a codec. It's not a codec. It uses H.265. It also does not use more data than standard dynamic range. So we're able to do this through really clever things, which I'll talk about a little bit. And we've designed it to be future-proofing, right? So it can handle basically 10x more than what your best monitor today that you're going to get. So quick reminder here of just how amazing the human eye is. All right, in terms of luminance, the human eye can detect 12 orders of magnitude. Now let's put that in perspective. Order of magnitude, difference between this and the distance to the sun. That's 12 orders of magnitude. The human eye can adapt from nighttime vision to daytime vision, 12 orders of magnitude. That's astounding. Dolby Vision, you know, if you go then and look at something like a standard television, it's crap. It's basically 0 to 100, very limited range. With Dolby Vision, we're expanding that to 10,000, from 0 to 10,000, because the human eye is actually quite sensitive to luminance values. But it's not just luminance, right? It is more color than what you would have with standard dynamic range. But then those colors can be brighter, right? So that's the way to think about HDR and Dolby Vision. More color, brighter color, because the eye is incredibly sensitive to both of these things. And the bottom line is you end up with a better picture, a more compelling picture. And in fact, at Dolby, we run labs where we attach electrodes to people's heads and we do experiments on them. not in a bad way, where you can actually see the emotional response to an image. The more lifelike you can make that color and that brightness, the more of an emotional response the person has to it. It feels like reality, right? And that's what we work on, trying to make that creative intent come across on the delivery device. So Dolby Vision, it's not just, for us, it takes years to build out an ecosystem for this, because you've got to deal with the creation side, right? Because if there's no content, there's no point. Distribution, I've got to get that content to the people, and then I've got to be able to experience it on the device. And so we've been working over the years with everybody on create, distribute, and experience to make sure that this experience gets out there. And this applies not just to Dolby Vision, but also to the work that we do in Dolby Atmos as well, to kind of bring these ecosystems together. It's quite challenging, right? Because if you think about this, all of these companies have their own agenda. We're trying to step in and say, look, we can give you better content, we can make your services more compelling, and we can make your devices more compelling all together if we work on this. So that's what we do. So on this, so we think about this, right now, we have about 1,200 movies that are out in Dolby Vision and over 5,000 television episodes. So it's actually quite difficult to find, shows right now. If they're in production, they're almost always in production in HDR. And if you're doing production in HDR, you're probably doing it in Dolby Vision, because Dolby Vision creates a mastering capability that can then be delivered to any other format. Even if it's going to a TV that doesn't support Dolby Vision, we can make it look better, because we can take a Dolby Vision master and create an SDR or HDR10 out of that Dolby Vision master. But the Dolby Vision master is the point of truth, right? It's the thing that we can say, this is what the artist wanted in this scene. Now we know about this device. Let's try and get to as close as we can get to that. So we think that's really important. Dolby Vision, if you think about the production pipeline, what you're dealing with is content creation, right? Production, post, mastering, distribution. I've got to transcode and delivery, and then playback. I've got to be able to play it, whether it's on my home TV or my cell phone, or actually even now it's starting to show up in cars. So this Dolby Vision dynamic metadata I mentioned starts showing up in the post process, where what we're trying to do is, again, on a scene by scene basis, determine what the artist wants to occur, and then dynamically change how we're displaying that image for that scene. So that means you can go from the candlelit scene to the outdoor gunfight and have that, in the candlelit scene, it's very low light, but you can still, everything is clear, but low light, to something where I'm outdoors with bright sunlight with a live sun coming through, and still be able to have that transition happen on a scene by scene basis. Very important in this process. So let's talk about Showtime specifically, because they've given me permission to show you a little bit of content actually in production. So we're going to create some Dolby Vision right now. So Showtime obviously has a workflow where they're getting in an IMF, right, as a mastering format, and a CPL, and this is coming in as a 12-bit J2K MXF file. So this is the master. This is the point of truth. It's extremely high resolution, extremely high bit rate. It's got everything they want. And from that, they need to create Dolby Vision from that Dolby Vision master, but they've got to create HDR10, because not every television or phone supports Dolby Vision, but it can still support HDR. So we need to support the non-Dolby Vision HDR. And then you've got devices that are still standard dynamic range. So they're taking one master and they're trying to deliver that to all three outputs. Now, the issue is that they need to do this. They get this on Friday afternoon. They get their master on Friday afternoon, and they need to go out on Friday evening in very short amount of time. And transcoding takes time, right? So, and if you think about that, they're taking that one source and making many, many, many outputs out of it. So this is where Dolby's hybrid transcoding service comes in. So this is cloud media processing platform. And it's kind of unique in that everything stays in the customer's account, but we manage everything. So the storage and the processing stays in their account, but all the management happens through us, which allows them to get the most cost effectiveness. And we do this for a lot of different companies, right? We do this for companies like Apple and Google and HBO and Showtime and Viacom, et cetera. And we do this for people who are doing Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos, but we do it for people who are doing no HDR yet. So we're not restricted to Dolby formats. It just so happens that because we're Dolby, we actually happen to be very good at the Dolby formats. So Showtime, right? They've got the 12-bit master, and they've got to create, for every hour of source, they've got to create 30 hours of output, right? Because they've got their ladder for Dolby Vision, they've got their ladder for HDR10, their ladder for SDR. So we take that transcode process and we kind of slice this into lots and lots of pieces of work to be done. And then we send those pieces of work out to multiple machines. So it's really important, right? When you think about throughput in the cloud, it's not just how many files per day can I get, but how quickly can I get one file, right? So there are two things you have to think about: hours per day, but minutes per hour, right? How quickly can I get something done? And so with Showtime, they throw this problem at 1,000 machines. We manage all the 1,000 machines and deliver the output for them. So let's see it done. So in true Julia Child fashion, let's jump over here. So what I've got here is a little Dolby Vision job. And what this job is doing is, the first thing it's doing, it's saying, hey, I want to create an output, and that output is going to be a 1080p output at 10 megabit for, in this case, Dolby Vision. So I've told it to do Dolby Vision Profile 5. But we don't need to create just Profile 5. I also need to create HDR10, and I need to create SDR. So in Hybrid, in the JSON that we use to define our jobs, we have a targets array. And in that targets array, you can just say, hey, I need this target and this target and this target. So in this case, I'm just creating the 3 top bit rates of my HDR ladder, but I'll leave it as an exercise to the viewer to say that, okay, I could duplicate all of these and create my entire ladder this way. So I could create my 10 Dolby Vision, my 10 HDR10, and my 10 SDR all in one job. Now, when that job gets sent to Hybrid, what Hybrid is going to do is take that job and allocate it. First, we have to analyze it and say, okay, what is this job? What are you trying to do? How long is it? How many pieces do we need to break it up into? And then we will then assign that to the available machines in the system. So right now, it's gone through, it's analyzed, it said, okay, your file's this long. That means you've got this many slices. We'll define each slice. We'll now allocate the slices to the available machines. So each of these is a machine in the network. And if I were to look at this, let's just go look at our machines here for a second. And if I look at my machines, I can kind of see that work being allocated out to the available machines. So as those machines get loaded up, I'll see their CPU load kick off, and they'll begin to contribute to that transcode process. So in about 10 seconds, it's got to go through a pre-processing step. Now, when we look at this output, what you'll see is you'll see something that looks like SDR. It looks normal. You'll see something that looks kind of flat, and that is the HDR10 in its color space. And actually, we can kind of take a look at it right now. And then you'll see something that looks kind of purple shifted. That's actually the Dolby Vision. What we do is we take that 12-bit content, but we're sending it down a 10-bit pipe to the customer. But when we get to the customer, we want to re-expand it back to that 12-bit original bit depth. And the way we do that is we basically shift the imagery into, we take the parts of the image that your eye is most sensitive to, and we basically are putting the extra bits into that part of the color spectrum. And then when we get to the output side, we re-expand it. So that's why you'll see some of these are they look standard. That's an SDR image. They look flat. That's an HDR10 image. or they look purple shifted, which is the Dolby Vision image. Now, of course, when this gets to the customer, right, when this gets to the customer, it is delivered in the correct viewing capability for their device. So what that does is give us an opportunity to do something at scale, right? Where, again, 1,000 machines could be thrown at the same problem to get my 30 files done in less than an hour. So that's really important for customers on throughput. And by the way, all of this is running on spot machines, which can disappear at any minute. So I could be doing this on Amazon or Google, and I'm paying as, the customer pays as little as possible for the machine. And then our job is to handle if the machine goes away. So if machine number 27 goes away, that's okay. We just reroute the work it was doing to someone else, and it's transparent to the user. And with that, in my, how'd I do? I think I did okay. I came in under level. So with that, I think there are some questions.
There is a question. There is one question. Given the limits of the human eye and the common occurrence of the mismatch of the setup of most displays on the consumer side in terms of distance, configuration, etc., compromising the ability to distinguish higher resolutions such as 4K, as well as sometimes adverse physiological reactions to the upper limits of signal delivery such as 8K, is it better to focus more on things like HDR and other color enhancement tech developments rather than higher resolutions in order to deliver better contact? Terrific question.
Yes. Okay. Not to sound self-serving, but yes. And here's why. Again, back in the labs where we put on the sensor helmets and test people's emotional responses and brainwave activity to imagery, color and brightness have a far greater impact than resolution. So yeah, I can stick you in front of a 720p, a 1080p, a 4K, and an 8K, and you're like, oh, okay. But I stick you between SDR and Dolby Vision, and it pops, right? So very much so. And again, what we're doing with Dolby Vision is that we're delivering that experience at the same bit rate as the SDR. So that's important, because if you're getting this better experience at double the cost of delivery, it might not be worth it. But if I can get a better experience for the same cost and future-proof myself, because keep in mind, when this has been mastered, if somebody comes up with a TV tomorrow that's twice as bright as the one you have, all the content that's been mastered is still mastered correctly, because we know what it's supposed to look like. And so we will correct it to be fitting within the brighter thing, because that mastering monitor was designed to be much brighter than the capable of being much brighter than the home screen. So there's 10x of headroom in the mastering format. So this is, again, even customers who may not be delivering much HDR today are beginning to master in Dolby Vision so that they can future-proof the delivery.
Sure, great answer to a pretty common question. Terrific presentation, David. I look forward to seeing the 3-hour version a week from today. Actually, I'm going to have to miss it, unfortunately, but I've seen a version of it before, and honestly, it's terrific. David is one of the
very similar.
But he's one of the few presenters I know who can actually hold your attention for 3 hours. So
I'm trimming it down to 2. Okay, it's going to be 2 hours this time.
Perfect. All right, thanks again, Dave.
Cheers.
Our next speaker is Gio Punzo, who is the CEO of Streann Media. Gio, welcome.
Hi, how are you? Can you hear me?
Doing great. We can hear you fine. Fantastic. I love the fact that, over the course of this innovation hour, we get 3 presentations that really kind of highlight just the range of the type of audience members that streaming media has. We've got the folks who are deeply into the encoding. We've got folks who are hyper-focused on delivery and protocols. And then we've got folks who are equally hyper-focused on getting content out to audiences and monetizing it. And so I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say, Gio. So take it away.
Fantastic. I'm going to share screen right now. And yeah, so the topic is pretty interesting. We created this content success formula, and I'm going to make this very, very interactive. So we look at the customer journey as when customers come to us, they choose the best OTT platforms, and we build these great content apps. Then you get distributed, and then something breaks, right? You have some great successes, and then many of the OTTs in general, they might break right in the marketing. And we'll talk about what marketing and how we can define success in few slides. So just take this slide and think of, is this my customer journey? Am I monetizing? Am I doing all these right steps? And hopefully you are. So when you look at how do you define success, we at Streann look at 4 major pillars, which are content, distribution, engagement, and monetization. And we'll go through some of them. We created a cross-media workflow that makes it perfect for content providers really to have a successful OTT strategy. Again, I always think of QB and where did they go wrong, right? So you have to have different elements. And in our view of the world, it's all the new content. We also created some tools, and we'll talk about it. You got to distribute it. You got to play the social media card. You got to bring them in your content apps. That's where you really start to build your database and your own analytics. And then with technology, you got to engage. And that's going to be very important for you to monetize at the end. But we'll talk about it in a little bit. So here's the formula. This is the secret formula. I'm giving it out right now on Streaming Media West. Content times distribution times engagement equal monetization. Let's analyze that. If I have zero, if any of these variables is zero, you're not monetizing. So obviously you got to have content. Interesting enough, is VOD content enough nowadays? People want more live. So we've spent R&D, and I'll show you some of the cool stuff that we're doing on the content side. So it's content that you already have, but you got to have a live streaming component to it as well in order to make this formula successful. Then you got to distribute. You got to be everywhere. You got to distribute your content on every single platform that is out there. So iOS, Android, Roku, Apple TV, Fire TV, PlayStations, Xbox, everywhere. That's where the eyeballs are. And then you got to engage, right? And you need engagement tools. Don't fall behind. You know, one of the things that we reviewed as, you know, maybe Quibi was not as, be more like TikTok and less like Quibi. That, you know, think of it on that aspect. And that's how you monetize it. You got to monetize in different ways as well. So have these variables filled with numbers in order for you to monetize. So here we are. We solve this distribution, engagement, monetization problem. So we're a SaaS platform. We build more than 150 features, and we keep adding new and new features because you really need an all-in-one solution for you to distribute your content, put it everywhere, make sure that it's engaged, and make sure you monetize. But then the other thing that we notice is that our customers are having a very tough time competing with the Facebook, Instagram, the TikTok, the Snaps of this world. That's where really the eyeballs and the ads dollars are going to, right? So how do we help them create quicker content, more mobile content? And we just launched 15 days ago, we launched Streann Studio, and just 2 days ago, we launched Insight Switcher, and they're both moving like crazy. New content creation tools for the 500 million content creators, and it's all live, right? Live content, and then you can go back and put it on your own OTT platform as well. So a few things about us. I don't know how many of the guests know about Streann. We're funded in 2016. We're down in Miami, Florida. We're VC backed, and we won many awards for our technologies. Where did it all start? I'd like to say this story because it kind of connects. I think everybody's familiar with LiveView here. So I started at LiveView, and in LiveView, the big change that LiveView made in the broadcast world was it changed the way content was being distributed. Not anymore satellite track, which was very costly, and it was very hard for you to get mobility from. And it replaced something that was maybe $100,000 a day with $2,500 a month. And which broadcaster doesn't have a LiveView gear anymore? So by thinking on that, you know, lowering costs of production and increase creative content or mobile content, that's when we started building the company Streann Media. And we have a very large customer base. We'll talk about some of these case studies of some of the customers that are using our technologies. The main aspect of it, you're managing everything from one central location. You are building your content apps and editing them from one central location, and then the monetization happens also. All the programmatic, because the world is moving more toward programmatic advertisement, is done in control from one single location. You can build different business models, so don't be attached when you look at the content success formula. Don't be stuck in one monetization. I'm just an SVOD. No, be flexible in pay-per-view SVOD. And then we created something that is pretty cool, which is a patent pending technology on advertisement. Obviously, connected TV is extremely important. This is a patent pending technology on advertisement. You open up the screen, you're live streaming right now, but the screen was split in two. On the left side, you have the advertisement and you're still live streaming. Number one reason why people leave a video player is pre-roll, but we're stuck with it because Google owns the market. In this case, you can make a living with an AVOD model using our technology, which is pretty cool. You can do it all across connected TVs, iOS devices, web, and so on. We also noticed that some customers did not have enough experience in bringing in their own digital advertisement. So we have integrated with all the major demand partners. So we bring in also monetization to our customers. That's very exciting. Monetization on connected TV is complicated, but we make it very, very easy. And then there's a bunch of other technology, 150 features. I'm not going to go through them. I want to go straight into these new content creation tools. You can see we have, you can have the chat features. You can cast it directly. This is how NBC has been using the product, casting directly to social media all at the same time. Inside messages, push notification. You can clip and then live clipping, and then it creates video on demand. And this is actually a pretty cool feature. So you have these content apps, and now the end user can create stories. So think of Netflix meets TikTok. Now the end user clicks the camera opens, and now he can create a story. You receive the story. Now you're the owner of user-generated content. So we talked a lot about engagement. We talked a lot of how do you connect with that end user where he needs to participate in your content experience. That's what he's doing on social. So why not on your own new digital technologies, right? So this is a great way for him or she to connect. You can change the logos, and that changes the story that the end user is creating on your platform. And it can be used for sports, radio, and brands as well. Again, you have to have a live component. Live streaming is extremely important as you're creating that engagement with the end user. That's what they want to see. Other features like polls are included in it. Analytics, obviously. Multi-profiles is a must nowadays, especially with all these kids watching your own accounts. Recommendation engine, all these technologies included. But let's get to the meat of the presentation, which is more content tools, right? So we created Streann Studio. I wish actually this entire webinar was done on Streann Studio. Let me show you a little bit what this is. We launched it a few weeks ago. It's available already in English, Spanish, Portuguese, and Italian, and it's having a massive number of users on it. So you go to Streann.studio, you invite a guest, and now you're creating a vlog. Less than 5 minutes to go live. And again, we created this tool so that we can help content creators create more content, live streaming content. Look, I'm adding people. If we had the 4 of us or 5 of us on the call, you can remove them or put them back on the call as you wish, and everything live streamed, obviously, to social media as well. You can add text as well as change the backgrounds and add your logos and so on. So really brand the streaming experience with this new product that we launched. Pretty cool, but we didn't stop there. Then we said there's another huge problem in the market. Multi-camera streaming is extremely difficult and very, very expensive. So we created an app that solves all of that. So Insight Switcher is the first app in the world for iOS and Android with multi-camera streaming possibilities. So you download the app connects to the other devices iOS or Android. So it's operating system agnostic, right? It connects, if you're on the Wi-Fi, it connects automatically. If you're on 4G or 5G, so you can actually have a remote person in New York, let's say, everybody's in Miami and you have somebody in New York, they will get a code and they can still connect also to the switcher. And the sky's the limit. This reduces completely cost of production, and it gives you more and more live content. So let me show you an example of our team going out into the community in Miami, and we're creating what's called Streann stories. So you'll see the switcher, you'll see the hosts, you'll see the talents, and hopefully you get a kick out of this. So here are the two talents. You can see the two tablets, right? The one facing each one of them. There's the beautiful ring lights, and here's the switcher on the right. Watch this. And then we even had another camera that was at the bar, completely far away from the location. So now you're streaming 1, 2, 3 cameras, but look on the right-hand side. On the right, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 different feeds coming in, and you as the director, you're choosing which camera to play. In less than 5 minutes, you can go live. We launched this product at $39.99 just to break the market, and it's absolutely going crazy on the stores right now. So we're excited to launch it and talk about it here at Streaming Media. Love to take any questions. But this is a game changer, guys. This is a game changer. That's it for me.
That's terrific, Gio. That's great stuff. We do have a question. Can an engagement service like Streann Studio work in the public education and government space as well? Is it economical enough to cater to that often underemphasized market, specifically the education portion, which is massive?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you something interesting. It's we're really pushing the boundaries of social economic democratization of content with these two new inventions. So absolutely, it's priced right for any type of content creators. The idea is that you can create more broadcast quality content with these solutions. Studio is priced at $19 a month or $29 for the higher version. Just to compare, our OTT is completely on the other side. It's an enterprise play. But one thing that we notice is that it's hard to make. It's really hard for even large broadcasters to come up with more content, and they're getting beaten by all these new content creation platforms that are out there. So we're helping content creators and large broadcasters and anybody that is actually creating content, creating more and go live less than 5 minutes in a different way, right? Multi-camera streaming is very hard. It took us 2 years to build this. 2 years of R&D. Amazing.
And you're right. It's absolutely a solution that I think the market has been really hungry for. As people, as you said, even from the smallest possible creator or group of creators to the largest OTT platform, the ability to create multi-camera live streams on the fly without having to worry about any hardware is potentially a game changer.
Absolutely, it is.
We've got time for a couple more questions from the audience, if there are any. Actually, AVI Trainer, who I welcome him because he's here almost every Streaming Media Connect. $29 a month is great. Can that be done on a classroom scale?
Yeah, absolutely. So remember that you're creating for Studio, you're creating the TV-like experience, and then you have a link that the entire classroom or anybody that has the link can watch. So but the idea is that even what we're having right now, it can be done at a much higher broadcast quality. Not that Zoom is not there, but Zoom was not created for this.
Right.
And we created it to answer really the questions or the problems that the broadcasters are having. Faster time to market. Anyway, try. There's a free version for it. Try, play with it. You fall in love with it, and there's nothing that happens if you try for free.
Terrific. Well, Gio, thanks so much, and thanks to our other presenters as well, David Trescott from Dolby and Ryan Jesperson from Millicast. Thanks again to all of our sponsors, our diamond sponsors, Conviva, Limelight Networks, Video Guys, and Signient for making Streaming Media West possible. The winner of the Amazon gift card for this session is Calvin Norman. Calvin, keep your eyes open on your email for more information about that. And we'll be back tomorrow morning with another keynote, and this time we'll be talking to Vibal Howe, who is the CTO of Pluto TV. You talk about a trend of the last 18 months. Fast channels have been perhaps the biggest OTT trend, and none have been bigger than Pluto TV. So I look forward to seeing everyone again tomorrow morning. That wraps things up. And Bill Spence, our producer, play us out.
Millions of data points each day. In this era of streaming video, we are pioneers, helping make your stories more vibrant. Conviva lives in billions of apps on devices all over the world, measuring trillions of data points each day to provide real-time insights for your content, ads, and social. Conviva. Every stream, every screen, every second.
Videoguys.com is your source for live production gear, and we can help you start streaming today.
Reach a wider audience and tell your story using equipment like the RGB Link Mini family of 4 HDMI mixers, YOLO Live YOLO Box all-in-one touchscreen mixers, streamers, and recorders, and PTZ cameras and controllers, perfect for productions of all sizes without a large production crew.
Go to Videoguys.com or call us at 800-323-2325 for help and start streaming today.